Right, fishing up in the water at Redbridge Lakes, and basically there's 3 or 4 rigs. There's this one here which is I call the deep rig, and that's basically the full depth of the water, and we would use that normally to start up with, to drop right the way through to find out what's going on in the peg. And then the other rig is exactly the same float, 410s float, but fish shallower, a little bit of lead just below the float. What I do, little tip, I've got a bit of sponge here with some soap in it, and if you just soap the bottom bit of that float like that, just clean it off and clean that line off, everything sits, you don't get that static on the water, and the float sits up nice and steady. You ain't got to use wire stems in, so that works nice. And wire stems, great, but they're too heavy and they wrap over. So this is your, what I call your striking rig. This is one where you're going to lay in, drop it in now, and you get little indications, and you're going to strike. And this is probably the one that you'll catch most of your gibbles on and most of your fish on. And then if things are going really well and the fish come up in the water, we'll use this rig, okay, which is a little dibber with just one shot down. Same thing again, soak that bit of line there, otherwise it's going to sit on the top and it's going to be messy. Just soak that little bit of line so it sinks through the water. And this one here, you're going to catch your gibbles when they come up in the water, you're going to catch your rudd, you're also going to catch your eyed. And this one, you don't have to strike, they're going to hook themselves with this one. And then this one here, this is the one that you want to really catch your fish on, and this is the poly ball, and basically it's just a poly ball. You can slide it up the line, fish it a little bit deeper if you want to, or you can fish it that deep, 6 inches deep, not even 6 inches deep. Tiny hook, single maggot, 6 inches deep, hold it nice and still, let them hook themselves on a nice, reasonably tightish, well, a soft, heavy elastic, put it that way. So it's soft in the rod, but quite heavy, because some of these gibbles are going to take you all over the place, and you'll never get them in with a soft elastic. So you have to have a compromise here. Now, when I used to start with a deep rig to feed through the water and see what's going on. But what I've found as late is that the fish do tend to come up in the water, and we're going to be feeding about that many maggots at a time. I'm fishing 11 metres a day, and what you got to be used to do is to be able to do that without looking. So you can feed them like that, and keep going. All right, feed them like that all the time. And if you can do that, then you're going to bring your fish up. Pretty much, if you put a load of maggots in every now and again, the fish are going to go down to eat them off the bottom. If you put 2 maggots in every 2 seconds, they're going to come right up the top and they're going to compete on the top. So the quicker and the less maggots you can put in, the higher the fish will come up. And the higher the fish will come up, the better bite you're going to be. What you want is the fish coming up and then down. And as they come down, they're going to hook themselves. If they're fishing in me water like this, that's no good to you. You're going to miss loads of bites. They're going to come up the bait from this angle, that angle, that angle, that angle. Miss loads of bites, fail hook fish, wrap your float round the top of your rod tip, all that mess. The less maggots you can feed, the quicker, the more you're going to get them up in the water. And that's really, really important. So you've got to get proficient at this, feeding all the time. If you can do that all the time, you're laughing. So, as I said, what I tend to do now is start on the top and work down. And the reason why I do that is if you start on the bottom and work up, there's a good chance you're going to fail hook up a fish if they're higher than they're actually fishing. So you don't want to be dropping your at the beginning of your day, you don't want to be dropping line through a load of feeding fish, if they do happen to come on quick, and start fail hooking something. So here we go. So here's a poly bowl. I'm going to start on a poly bowl 6 inches deep. I've been feeding it now for about 10 minutes or so. So there may be something up there already. There may not, but if there's not, I can go down onto one of my slightly deeper rigs. So I'm going to put a single maggot on. I normally start with a 20 hook on an 08 bottom. You don't often get broke on an 08 here up in the water. You're not going to hook any tench up in the water. You're going to get the gibbles, and if they snag you, then you're in trouble anyhow, no matter what hook you got on. So that's what I tend to do. Start with an 08. If you fish heavier lines and bigger hooks, you might catch perch all day long, but there'll be bigger fish in the water that are a little bit cuter, and they ain't going to have it. So you might miss out on something really, really special. So here we go. We're going to go out with a poly ball. Now, what you do with a poly ball is you don't strike. If you strike with a poly ball, you're going to end up with wrap-ups all day. You're going to be trying to hook little tiny roach and little tiny perch and things like that. So you don't strike. So here we go. Can you see that, Tony? So we're going to be just feeding a bit of bait out there, dropping the poly ball in the water and just holding it on the surface, almost off the surface. Okay, and I'm going to keep feeding this, and we'll try it for a couple of minutes and see if there's anything out there that's having it. You don't need to lift and drop it. You just sit it there and hold it near the surface, and if anything's going to have it, then it's going to have it probably within the first couple of minutes or so. Then if it doesn't, then I know there's nothing up there, and then I can start looking down in the water. It's a cloudy day today, so it's likely that they're not going to come up that high. Feed it properly and they might just come up. It's a bit windy today. It's a bit difficult to hold the pole and feed at the same time, but this is part of the art of up in the water fishing. So nothing up in the water there at 6 inches deep. Didn't expect it straight away. Just going to come down to about 9 inches to a foot deep. We're going to try that. See if they're just laying that little bit deeper. We're not doing anything wrong at the moment. We're just going down to see if we can find the fish at the depth they're laying or the depth they're feeding at. So you want the fish to be coming up to the bait rather than going down to the bait. If you're fishing on the deck, you want them going down. If you're fishing up in the water, you want them coming up. You don't want to be catching them at the depth that they're laying, because you'll miss bites all day long. So, now there's something happening there. Bit of movement there, so here we go. That might have been all we needed to do. So I'm just going to hold that poly ball just on the surface. So I make sure I've got a nice tight line to the float. Here we go, there's one. And that looks like it might be one of our famous eyed. So here we go. So whilst we're playing it in, it's very important to keep a bit of feed going in, because we want them fish feeding out there, and we don't want them to get fed up of us. In fact, it's not an eyed, it's one of the gibbles. So that was quite shallow for a gibble. Make sure they don't go in the lilies. There we go. Keep the heads up nicely. There we go, lovely. So I'm glad I didn't fish too deep to start with, because I might have failed up that one and not seen it again for the rest of the day. Tiny little hook, nice big fat gibble, about £1.25 that one. So that's not a bad little starter. Put a maggot on. I'm chatting away here. What I normally do is feed it again before I put another bait on, before I go out, but I've done it a bit wrong. See, I've got that elastic set quite soft, so I just tighten that up so that it's just inside the pole, so we don't get any wrap ups. There we go again. There we go again, and see if that's the depth we want them at today. Fish, they come up in the water, they go down in the water, they go out, they go in, and you've got to be on the ball. Oh, there's a little roach or something, but that don't matter. They're all an ounce, and if you've got fish feeding, that's all we really need to worry about. So that's another ounce in the net. So I just shallowed up a little tiny bit. The roach tend not to come really high in the water, but the bigger fish do. I think the bigger fish aren't as quick as the little fish, so they have to come up high in the water to intercept the bait before the little fish get there. So I prefer to fish shallow than that little bit deeper. The only time I will try and look a little bit deeper if there's nothing's happening, and then you can go a little bit deeper and you might start catching the skimmers that tend to lay deeper in the water a bit. But it's just a matter of keeping altering your depth and your rigs and doing different things, because it depends on how many fish you got in your peg, what fish you got in your peg, at what depth you're going to catch them. And I think that might be a rudd or a slightly better roach. That's a rudd, that one. But don't try swinging fish in like this. It's much quicker to land them. Otherwise, you're gonna end up getting in a tangle. You spend 10 minutes undoing the bloody tangle, when just spend another 30 seconds landing the fish. You got your fish, and you're away again. So, but this is a matter of just keeping up the momentum. So when you're in and out like this, you're not feeding, so you've got to make sure that as soon as you get out there, you get some feed up round the float. Sometimes they're waiting for it, and they'll be on it before you can get your catapult in your hand. So it's so feeding. This is the most important bit. Just keep that feed going in and getting them fish coming up and competing. And in a minute, I'm going to go down in the water and show you what can happen when you go that little bit deeper. So now I've been fishing up in the water shallow with a poly ball, and nothing's happening at the moment. We took a few fish, and I think they got a little bit peed off of me, and I think they've probably just gone down in the water a little bit more. So I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to put on my other rig and go a little bit deeper, and hopefully one of the reasons why I won't get bites, my maggots come off, so perhaps I'm not going to do that. What we're going to do, I'm going to stay about the same depth. I'm going to stay about the same depth, because I didn't fancy they was going to go any shallower right this moment. So let's put another maggot on. And we'll just stay this same depth for a little while longer. I'm loath to go deeper in the water and start fail hooking fish. A fail hook fish is one that ain't going in the net. I prefer to miss bites, because sooner or later it's going to have it and I'm going to get it in the net. So the less fail hook fish you get, the better. A missed bite ain't a problem. A fail hook fish is. Oh, there we go. We're in again. We're up there. So that's. I think I've got the depth. I think I've got the depth right. That's not a bad roach, yeah? That's a goer. That's a goer. And I think it's when you're fishing a match, you're having to be catching great big bream and eyed and gibbles and that all the time. Obviously they're great when they turn up, but if you're putting a fish in the net every minute or so, then you're going to end up with a pretty good weight. It's important, of course, to have everything set up nice. You've got to get your rollers set up nicely so you're nice and comfortable. You don't really mess around when you're shipping backwards and forwards. You want to be nice and comfy, and let's see how we can do it. I fed a little bit heavier that time, so that was a bit oh no, there's still something going. That was a little perch or something, it just hit it and fell off, so that's not a problem. Sometimes you're better off not trying. There's a better one. There we go. That looks like that could possibly be an eyed. Let's have a look. No, that's not an eyed, that's another gibble. If that has been an eyed, it would have shown itself by now. It's another gibble. So we're gonna hang on to it and just keep feeding, keep the fish happy over there. Get him out of the way. Now got his head up out of the water, and now his head's out of the water. He's not doing us any harm. And what I'll do is, if there's a lot of weed on the inside, rather than go down, I'll stand up now and I'll keep him up like that. I'll keep him up on the surface. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to try and keep him up on the surface. Try and keep him up on the surface like that, and unship him all the way. Keep him up on. There, he's gone down. Try and keep him up on the surface all the way. Then we can get out. And there. That wasn't a very good example, that is. There you go. Just goes through. This is uncut. This is uncut. But there's a lot of that funny pondweed here at the moment, and I do like to bury their heads in it. So when you hook them, try and get the gob out in the water before you start unshipping. You've got half a chance then. Once they get a gob full of air, then they're okay. So I think that's about the depth. I think we need it it's about 9 inches to a foot deep. Again, the elastic's set very soft. I'm having to do that. What I want to do is I want the elastic soft enough so if I hook a roach or whatever, I don't bounce them off. But I've got enough backbone in the elastic later to stop a fish from taking me all over the place. So that's about the best I can do at the moment. I don't know what, I think it's just 8 to 10 elastic or something they call it. Now of course we're feeding, we've got the ducks in. I've got, incidentally behind me here, I've got 3 more sections from my pole set up ready if I need it, because sometimes you'll hit a big fish, you'll try to go through the weeds, you want to get that joint on and we'll be pushing them out. So so I'll have that ready to go. But here we go, we're going to keep our feed going out all the time. Missed that one. You're going to get little roach that are going to bang the top, and to be honest, if you're getting the better fish, you don't want the little roach, so it's better off missing the bites off the little roach and getting the better bites. Oh, this is, oh, that's another gibble by lots of things. Yeah, they're coming up nice and they're coming up nice and shallow today, which is fabulous. That's what we want to. That's what we want to see. So here we go. The gibble's up in the water. Let's see if I can get him up this time. Keep him up in the water this time. See, mate. This is how you want to play them. That's the way you want to play them, and then you don't lose so many. I know it looks daft, but it works. Oh, Gibble City, and that maggot looks like it'll live another day, but you know what? If you don't put another one on, you guarantee it'll fall off. So put another one on, be done with. Here it goes. This is the rig that I've been catching on this morning so far. One little number 9 style lead on the top of my hook length, on the knot of my hook length, and I've been alternating that up and down there, and I've found about that is the depth that they seem to want to have it. I've had an eyed that deep, and that's where you will catch your eyed. But the eyed, they're just one now and again. You normally see if the eyed are in the water, you'll see something, just see a little bit of movement on the top of the water. Pull that down, you'll nick him off the surface. But anyhow, just to go on to another rig, I'm going to go on to my slightly deeper rig. It's still a bolt rig, but it's this one here. Same sort of rig. Another number 9 shot down here. I've put a bit of soap on the line here. This is a little dibber, and I put a little bit of brass over the top there just to weigh it up a little bit. It's just going to fish it a little tiny bit deeper. We might hook skimmers there, but we're more likely going to catch little roach, little perch. We still get the gibbles if they're about, but possibility there might be some better bream up in the water. They don't tend to come right to the surface, the bream. So let's have a look and see what this is. The only problem is when you're fishing a little bit deeper, if the fish are up in the water, it could possibly foul hook them. So let's give this a try, and let's see what the results are. I'm fishing at about 11 metres today. 11 metres is lovely because it's a nice distance to catapult at. You can get your feed nice and neat, and you get your feed nice and neat, and see where the ducks are there. You're not overspraying so that the ducks come in and destroy your peg. They don't want to come. Oh, there's one here. Gibbles are still here. Gibbles a little bit deeper still, so yeah, it looks like it's Gibble City here today. Feels like a slightly better fish this, but there's always all different variations of the gibble. I call them gibbles because I don't know what else to call them. But you could call them F1s if you like, you call them brownfish, you can call them Croziers, call them whatever you like. They're little mismatched carp. Now this one here has just found a bit of that weed there. But
they give you a lovely fight, don't they?
Oh yeah, they go good and proper. And say you're only on low 8 bottom here, but here he is. He's up. He's up. Right, he's got out the water there. So now, hopefully, he's mine. So just try and keep that tension on him. Keep him up in the water. I know it looks a bit daft, but there's a lot of weeds, especially on the inside here. And if we can stop him getting his head down into that weed, then you bugger. Happy days, I've got him up again. So the longer you can get the head out of the water for, the easier. And he's not a particularly big one, but he did give us a little bit of a tussle. He's only about a pound and a bit, I suppose.
Lovely looking fish, isn't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're cracking, these fish. Cracking fish. Proper match boys fish these are.
And you'll catch these all day at Redbridge Lakes.
Well, if you get it right, you can. Well, there you go. I mean, look at that hook.
Let's have a close up of that if you can. Just lay it on your finger that way.
Can you see? Can you see the hook? It's not a big hook.
Just trying to get focused on where you are. Difficult because it's so small. Sorry, folks.
That's a 20. Now I'll go down on a 22 sometimes. Not so much for the gibbles, but the eyed are notorious for it. Sometimes the eyed will come up on the surface and you will not get them on a 20. You've got to go down to an 07 and a 22 and they'll have it. And they're big fish. They're like 2 pound fish, some of these. And you wouldn't even believe it. They're just super clever. They've been here a few years now. They've been caught a few times. And but you will get them on that 22. In fact, we might do that in a minute. I might put a 22 on, go really shallow and see if we can pinch one of the eyes, because they're bound to be up there and just not having it. So if you go deeper in the water, the bigger fish are competing with the masses of little roach and perch and little tiny skimmers and all that sort of thing. These little tiny fish, they don't want to come up the surface. They're going to get eaten by seagulls. So they're going to want to be staying below a foot deep. So as soon as you start going deeper, you start hooking these little roach and perch and odds and sods and whatnot. Now, if you're not catching anything up shallow, then you have to go down and catch them anyhow, because it's a fish to put in the net. But so now we're fishing deeper. We might find that we're going to catch more little fish, and occasionally we're going to fail up the bigger fish. And not so much on this rig, because this is still relatively shallow. But if I went on the next one down, you know, there's a little perch, you see. They're a pain in the bum, because that's fell off. Fortunately, it didn't wrap up. But let's keep going with this deeper rig for a second, and then perhaps we'll go back on the shallower rig afterwards, and I'll see if I can get some better fish. That one's fell off. That was another little perch. Keep that feed going in all the time. You can get rid of. Oh, there we go. That's a nice one. Oh, now that's a foul hooker. Yeah, it's exactly what I said. That was deeper than we've been fishing. So I've literally gone over that one's back, foul hooked it. So it goes to prove that I was fishing 18 inches deep. I'm fishing below where the fish are. That's I foul hooked that, smashed me up. So
your
hook's gone.
Right, okay.
I mean, you can foul hook them, they go off like a rocket. You're either going to pull out or they're going to break your hook length. So I've just put another hook on. I've stayed at that on that slightly deeper rig at the moment. Still not absolutely sure it's the right rig at the moment, because I think it's just too deep. I think the fish had come up higher in the water than this rig is, and it's a good possibility we're going to get a foul hooker. But there we go, we're into one straight away. This one has now, looks like this one has actually gone and found a bit of weed out there. Is it? No, it's all right. Well, so we're clear, we're clear. He's got to find a little bit of that weed. I love it. Oh, come on, up you come, you bugger. Come on, up you come. You know, you don't even think about unshipping until you've got these things on the top out there. That's it. There, we got him up. We got him up. So, get him up. Out of the water. Head up. Head up, boy. Head up all the way. And he's yours. You probably wouldn't do this with a proper carp, but there we go. So let's continue this for a little bit longer. We haven't caught any bream yet. They're likely to be laying a little bit in a little bit deeper. But just carry on and see what we can get on there. But this is fairly positive. There seems to be enough of the gibble carp out there to be keeping the little fish at bay. Well, it might be just the fact that it's overcast. Normally we're getting me more problem with little fish. So just keep the old maggots going in. You notice I'm not striking these fish, I'm just letting them hook themselves. A little perch. So these little perch and roach tend to want to be at this depth and deeper. The shallower you come, the less problem there will be. Let's go back on the shallow rig for a little while. See if we can sort out a big old hide off the surface. Okay, so we're back on the shallow rig. What I try and do is feed, and as the maggots hit the water, drop your rig in so that everything drops at the same rate, and sometimes that can have a real positive effect. So when you feed, your rig's there. As you feed, you lift your rig up and drop it back down again. Understand what I mean? So that as your bait hits the water, the bait on your hook is hitting the water as well. Let's see what's going on up in the top. See if there's any hide to be had. They're really, really shy fish, these hide. And sometimes they can be up there and you really wouldn't know it unless you change down and go on a really small hook. I don't know whether it's worth it. If you're not catching anything else, then it's worth a try. But if you're catching other fish, then don't bother with the hide. Sometimes they're a bit more messing around than it's worth it. But sometimes, you know, sort of mid-afternoon, everything will go really, really quiet, and you can go on a small hook, come really, really shallow. You nick half a dozen hides, and you stuck another 8 pound in your net. You think, well, that was really worth the trick. It looks as if the other rig seems to have been the one at the moment. There doesn't seem to be anything on that shallow line at the moment. Yet before, that's where they were. Now if you want them to come shallow, then you can sometimes just feed a few less maggots. So you're only putting 4 or 5 maggots in your pouch, sticking them out, and then really makes them compete and come up. It don't look like that's the case, so right, so we're going to go back down again. So this time let's go down a little bit deeper and fish the rig that you need to strike. And sometimes that's the way it has to be. What you've got to remember is that it might be like this 1 minute, 10 minutes later you're fishing 2 or 3 foot deep, and then another 10 minutes after that you're back up and surface again. So they're up and down like I was going to say Nelly's knickers, but I don't know whether that goes down down well or not. So this one here, this is one you'll probably end up fishing on a match day when things are a little bit tougher and they're a little bit shyer, and you're striking the bites. You're striking the bites, and they're not hooking themselves on this rig. You've got a little bit more lash out, and so you're going to be laying it in, watching for the little bites. And strangely enough, some of the tiniest bites are the bigger fish. So you've got there's a bite I've missed. You're going to miss loads of bites like this. Going to be driving you insane all day long, because there'd be little perch, little roach, bream, gibbles, all sorts of things all day long. Missed that one. Wasn't that looking that time. Maggots come right, snipped me maggot off. That's probably one of them little perch. There we go. Bait in, drop the rig in. By the time you've fed again, you should be coming out, and there's a gibble on here. Quite often what you'll do is, as you're feeding, you're lifting and dropping all the time, you won't even see a bite. There'll be a fish hanging on there. Hello, and he's found a bit of that weed. Just keep above him all the time. Just don't drag him across the weed. You'll drag him into the weed. So just keep above him and let him come to the surface. It's always awkward because I'm trying to feed. It's doing right over the top of where we've got our fish, and I'm trying to feed and keep him out of mischief at the same time. So we've got him out of mischief. Get a bit of feed out there. Let's get him in, eh? Yeah, you stay there. You get your head down, boy. Yeah, I know you want to get your head down. I'm not going to let you. No. Oh, nearly. Now, it looks a bit messy. It looks really messy, but it works. It's a big old fantail. Oh, look at the fins on him.
That's a lovely looking fish.
That's a disgorger job, that one. I can't get hold of the hook where he is. Look at that. There's some fins on him. So there you go. That's I think we started fishing at about 1:30. It's now 2:30. So we've had an hour's fishing. It took us a little while to get the fish coming up, but we got half a dozen or so gibbles there. A nice big eyed that we took off the surface. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to film that one, but that's a nice big eyed, and ain't bad for an hour's fishing. Been probably knocking on £10 for a fish there. Here you go, boys. Done.